A very warm welcome to IDFC First Bank Presents Leaders of Tomorrow Season 12. I'm Ritwika Gupta. Tonight on the show, we'll be first focusing on the online grocery market in India, highlighting strategies for growth in the competitive market, followed by a conversation on India's fintech landscape and the digital payment ecosystem. On the show tonight, I'll be first joined in the studio shortly by Pratik Gupta, co-founder and CEO of Pluckk. And in the second segment, we are bringing you a conversation with Ketan Patel, co-founder and CEO of Mswipe Technologies. Thank you, Pratik, for joining us today on Leaders of Tomorrow.
Thank you very much. Thank you for having me here.
Now, Pratik, Pluckk has really made a mark in the online grocery space, right? In a short period of time, if I may say. Just tell us, your focus on fresh lifestyle produce, it has really set you apart from competition, if I may say. How has the journey been over the last 3-4 years?
Yeah, sure. So definitely when we started 3 years back, it was, we started with the problem statement of the end consumer. And we understood that we interviewed a lot of customers, a lot of insighting. We understood that the end consumer wants, firstly, something that is fresh, and which means that coming from the farm.
Right.
Secondly, they do not know that what kind of hygiene standards have been maintained while they are buying this produce. And hence, we decided to solve these problems for the consumer. And we brought in technologies like traceability, direct from the farm. We set up farmer-based collection centers. And from there, the journey of Pluckk started. We coined the name Pluckk because it connects the consumer to that same emotional feeling of plucking something from the farm and eating it fresh.
Right.
So the journey started there, and the customer base really grew, and we started selling on our app, and consumers were very happy to see the quality, the authenticity behind it, the assortment that we have. And as we grew, we understood that our consumers are looking for a lifestyle orientation, because the consumer who's looking for clean, fresh, preservative-free and these kind of things is actually looking at lifestyle as a whole.
Sure.
They are involved into fitness, wellness, health. They are looking at solving lifestyle problems like, say, blood pressure or diabetes or hair, skin, health, sleep, stress, all of these things. And that's where we got into solutioning mode, where we said that, okay, it's not just fruits and vegetables. We can add a lot of value. And we came up with solutions like salads and dips and juices, all fresh, made from the same great ingredient that our customers liked. And that's how Pluckk became a brand which is, in the fresh category, doing so much for the end consumer. And getting into multiple categories and then getting into quick commerce. We started listing there, and again, we found a lot of success on quick commerce platforms.
Sure.
So as we stand today, Pluckk is a brand playing in making fresh easy for the consumers.
Now, Pratik, you mentioned about consumers are now focusing towards health and wellness. Absolutely, I agree. And there's also a growing focus on nutrition-based solutions. I just want to zoom out a little bit and talk about the broad picture. How do you see this space evolving, in the next 5 to 7 years in India?
So see, the entire food segment is divided into different kinds of products, and nutrition and nutraceuticals is one space that we have. So it's coming from the same sentiment of the consumers, that they recognize the need to live better, to have the right health, fitness, nutrition. This trend is not limited to the tier 1 cities. It is now there in the tier 2 and tier 3 cities as well, because these customers now have, firstly, the knowledge through the social media and the digital platforms, and they have the digital infrastructure of getting items delivered to their place.
Sure.
So that's where this awareness is there, and where the role of Pluckk over here comes in, that we are focusing on eating better for the consumers through a fresh, clean, safe kind of produce and value-added solutions. So that's how the nutrition space is evolving, and Pluckk is trying to play a role in it as well.
Right, and speaking of digital infrastructure, I mean, yeah, technology has really impacted industries across the board, especially agri-tech and food tech. I want to really understand, how do you see technology playing a role, in this industry, especially in terms of, improving supply chain, meeting consumer demands, and, overall just improving efficiency?
Yeah, so it's a very large technology play for us.
Yeah.
Because we do more than 2 million products every month, and doing the whole thing every day, because it's a fresh industry. We have to procure every day from the farmers. We have to distribute that to the distribution centers in the city. There it has to get processed, and from there it every day goes to the dark store of a quick commerce or to a direct consumer household.
Sure.
In this entire supply chain, there are 2-3 main technology innovations that Pluckk is leading. One is traceability. As I mentioned, traceability is something that when an end consumer receives a Pluckk product, they can scan a QR code and see who is the farmer, what is the date of harvest, what is the place where this product has been grown. And they can read a lot more details about that and build that authenticity in their mind that they are consuming right.
Right.
The second big innovation is the ozone wash technology, which we have implemented in terms of and lab certified to achieve very phenomenal results in terms of 99.9% germs are killed just by an ozonization method, which is no chemical, no touch method. Then the third most important thing which really helps us from a technology point of view is that we today, a large part of what we do is, we are also partnering with the quick commerce platforms, and we need to know that exactly which pin code, which product is in stock, is not in stock, what is the price, how is it selling. And for that, an entire distribution system, almost like a very intelligent system has been designed, which we use to track the produce, track the product at the last end of the consumer. And the moment it is like saying, getting out of stock or already out of stock, we are able to replenish that. And hence, Pluckk is not just a brand which is there for the consumers, it is also a very strong supply chain and distribution play, which really plays in for the consumers in that way that if a consumer wants the product, it is always available at their location.
Absolutely. Now, Pratik, I also read that Pluckk is India's first certified plastic neutral brand in the food and vegetable space. So tell us more about it, and also what are the kind of other initiatives have you undertaken, especially when it comes to addressing sustainability?
Sure. So we are very passionate about this, and from the very first day when we started Pluckk, we have committed to mainly 4 causes. One is the plastic neutrality. The second is food wastage. Third is involving more women and sort of a women empowerment scheme, and then a farmer engagement and upliftment scheme. Every year we are contributing to these 4 areas, and we have earmarked these 4 areas is what our business will constantly work on.
Sure, absolutely, and that's really commendable, Pratik. But tell me something. As competition heats up in the online grocery market here in India, how do you plan to stand out, especially to capture a larger market share?
The one thing that really differentiates Pluckk is that we have built a brand based on the fresh proposition, and building the fresh proposition in not just fruits and vegetables as a produce, but also getting into categories which are packaged and not really providing a fresh option to the customers. For example, whether it be juices or dips or salads, meal kits, smoothies, soups, all of these categories that we have entered into, we are providing you a fresh option with no preservatives, with no color, no nothing, no nasties. And there are hardly any brands doing that in the first place. So our endeavor is to gain market share in a way that, if a consumer cares about being fitter, healthier, eating the right thing, then they would gradually shift to these options across the choices that they make. So our market share strategy is usually to penetrate the same consumer deeper.
Sure, absolutely. Now, I also read that you have acquired UpNourish. Tell me the thought behind it, and what is your expectation from this partnership?
So UpNourish is, as I said, is a nutraceutical, nutrition-based brand, and they have products like meal replacements, bars and soups, which is an on-the-go sachet which you can keep it in your pocket and then just put it in water and have it as a drink. And that product gives you the entire nutrition from a fiber, protein, mineral, vitamin point of view for that day. So if you don't want to eat junk and you are on the go, you can have that. So that is UpNourish's business model. And they also have a team of nutritionists, and they really know very deeply about nutrition. For us, the play was that, as I said, we are getting into all these categories where we provide a safe, fresh and clean as a proposition to the consumer. Safe means no preservative. Fresh means closer to the date of harvest.
Yeah.
Clean means made from the ingredients, which is ozone wash, which has no germs. And the end product that you're getting has all these three characteristics. Now, when a consumer who's an educated consumer, a fitness, health-seeking consumer, looks at these propositions, they're also thinking at the back of their mind about nutrition. That's where the collaboration with UpNourish comes in, that in the future, we'll be coming up with products where a Pluckk product which is having its own characteristics along with a fortified nutrition element can come.
So finally, Pratik, as we are wrapping up this conversation, tell me, what is your vision for Pluckk in the next 5 to 10 years?
From a numbers point of view, next 3 years, we want to be anything between 2 to 5,000 crore based on some of the market scenarios that we have. But from a non-business point of view, if you really think about a 5-10 years point of view, it's not a number-oriented thing. For me, it is like we are building Pluckk as a solution, as something that the consumers really benefit from. Being remembered as that brand who revolutionized the way you really eat on a daily basis is going to be the main thing for us.
Well, all the very best. It was lovely chatting with you, Pratik. Thank you so much for being here.
Thanks a lot. Lovely chatting with you too.
It's time for a quick break here. We'll be back shortly. Stay tuned. Welcome back. You're watching IDFC First Bank Presents Leaders of Tomorrow Season 12. In this segment, I'll be chatting with Ketan Patel, co-founder and CEO of Mswipe Technologies, on the company's journey, strategies for profitability and the future of fintech in India. Ketan, welcome to Leaders of Tomorrow. It's a pleasure to be chatting with you today.
Thank you for inviting me.
Ketan, to begin with, tell us, how has your journey been with Mswipe and the larger fintech industry?
No, good question. When I joined the fintech industry in Mswipe, it was COVID. So I call it baptism by fire. When I joined, Mswipe had lost 50% of its merchant base because of COVID. And then we had to build the business from scratch again, right? So, like I said, baptism by fire, loved every moment of it, learned every moment of it, and I'm continuing to learn.
Fantastic. I also want to know, what is your current assessment of the fintech landscape here in India, and how do you see Mswipe contributing to advancing the narrative of financial inclusion in the country?
Fintech in India started with competing with the banks and established players. Then it went to collaboration, and now you are seeing some of the fintechs becoming banks themselves, right?
Sure.
So that is the positive part. Negative part is regulation and compliance is here to stay. A lot of fintechs are not accustomed to being regulated, right? So that's where you'll see a little bit of churn, a lot of companies going down because they are not used to being regulated or being compliant. Sure. But that's part and parcel of the game, right? You will have some wins, some losses. So fintech is in an extremely good space in India. People like us are going international, so now we are ready to compete with the international giants. And as far as Mswipe is concerned, we believe that we are a player who can add a lot of character to the digital fintech space in India, digital payment space in India. And that is why we focused only on tier 3 to 6, right? Sure. So most of our acquisition happened from the tier 3 to 6 markets where we acquire merchants, and our USP has been, best quality tech at lower prices.
Right.
So that has helped us. And what we've also done is, we've tied up with 40 odd banks, and we are helping them acquire merchants so that it helps increase their current accounts and thereby helping the digitization of the economy.
Right. And I also read that you have achieved profitability and also 100% growth in the payment segment,
That's right?
What were the factors that led to this?
Since I don't come from payments, I realized very, very quickly that payments, especially the offline payments, is more of an operational excellence game, right? Just to give you an example, a merchant who comes in is going to give you the same rent year on year, but your costs are going to go up 15 to 20% year on year, right? The only way you can make money is grow at 30-40% and ensure that your costs don't go up. So what we did is we invested in ourselves. The entire tech stack that is required in the payment space is built by us, thereby reducing cost. Tying up with banks was one more thing where we don't need to go and acquire merchants on our own. We tie up with these banks, they refer their merchants to us, so the cost goes down drastically. So these two factors have helped us reach profitability on the payment side.
Right. And tell me, you spoke about international presence, right? So talk to us a little bit about your expansion strategy, especially internationally, to markets like UAE and Singapore. What can you tell us?
So, UAE was a game changer for us. When we went there, we competed with the best to get the contract. My partner out there is Etisalat, which is one of the largest telecom players in the world, right? So when we won the contract, we introspected and saw that what is it that we have that the others don't have. And we realized that our tech stack is what differentiates us from everybody else. A lower cost tech stack, which was built in India, used in India, can be replicated anywhere globally, right?
Sure.
So with that, we identified markets where we thought we could make some dent by acquiring 10,000-15,000 merchants and making it profitable. So most of the markets that we've selected is where you have the Indian diaspora running shops. So currently we've identified 7-8 markets, and we feel that these are the markets that we should focus on and be profitable.
Right. And tell me something, how do you see the space of digital payments in India, the digital payment ecosystem? How do you see that evolving, considering, the advent of UPI that has took over, even in rural areas for that matter, whether you talk about Google Pay or Paytm, everybody is using UPI. Yeah. How do you see the space transforming over the next 5 years or so?
So, UPI is going to continue to grow. It's been a game changer here. UPI International is going to be another game changer. But let's talk about India, right? It's been a game changer. Currently, 90% of the retail payments happening in India are through UPI.
Sure.
Right? Look at the number of merchants which are using UPI. I think around 50 crores or 500 million odd merchants are using UPI, which will continue to grow.
Yeah.
So, UPI, you don't make money. There is no MDR. But with credit on UPI coming in and credit card on UPI coming in, these are the monetization opportunities available.
Sure.
So for people like us, if we start making money, we are going to go the entire, the whole hog to acquire more and more merchants. So that's what we are doing. Yeah. Plus, I feel ONDC and Bharat Connect, which is the B2B bill payment, that will be a game changer. With these four, I think we are there.
Right. And what would your advice be for entrepreneurs who are entering India's fintech landscape here in 2025?
It's not for the faint-hearted. It's a difficult space to be in.
Yeah.
But, what if I was an entrepreneur starting today, I would have focused on profitability or path to profitability. I would have ensured that I focus on only profitability and not on customer acquisition.
Okay.
Whether I like it or not, regulation and compliance is going to be there, right? So I need to ensure that I work within the framework of what is expected by the regulators rather than trying to do something which is different. And if you focus on this and focus on vanity, not focus on vanity and focus on sanity, you're sorted. So this is the only advice that I would give myself if I was starting now.
Right. So Ketan, we spoke about the opportunities. Tell us about some of the challenges in the fintech industry today.
No, the challenges are, there are no challenges per se, right? Fintech was a wild, wild west, right? There was no regulation, there was no compliance, right? Now, when this is coming in, people are not used to it. right? Second is, even investors spoiled the fintech industry by focusing only on customer acquisition. Nobody was talking of profitability. Till now, nobody speaks of return on capital employed. I've not seen anybody saying that, I've invested 10 million, when will I start getting a 10% return? Nobody talks of that. Everybody's talking of valuations. These things will change. I see a lot of investors now talking of profitability. I am seeing a lot of investors going to talk on return on capital employed, right? At some point in time, you would want a return on your capital, right? So these are things that are challenges, but for people like us who come from regulated backgrounds, this is what we had always done. So it's not a problem for us.
And like Mswipe, do you see a lot more other fintech players also making a mark on the global stage, not just in India?
Yeah, there are. But the thing is, this Me Too concept is very prevalent in India, right? Because if you see one player going out, everybody wants to go out, right? That is the problem, right? Unless you have a clear-cut idea which you feel can disrupt the market outside, you should not go out. A lot of people do it just as a slide on the presentation, but really don't want to actually, or don't have a plan to do it. I would advise them, don't do it. Make a clear plan. There is a huge market outside where fintechs like us can do well. Rather than undercutting ourselves, let's focus on our core competencies and do well there.
Ketan, our show is called Leaders of Tomorrow, and I always ask my guests, what leadership means to them. So you joined Mswipe back in around the COVID time, right? So tell me, how has your leadership style evolved over the years?
So, I keep joking. This is a democracy run by a dictator, right? So that's how it is. There is a lot of freedom in operating for people working with me. But within the parameters of what is acceptable to the firm, right? We can't be going out of that. So I'm more of a facilitator. If you're stuck somewhere, you call me. I'll try and help you out with whatever experience I have. But I love people who work independently and work on the common goal of where we want to take the firm. So most of the top management of Mswipe has come with me in 2020. They've stuck around with me, and it's my job to ensure that whatever sacrifices that they've done, I at least compensate for that.
Fantastic. And finally, tell us, what is your long-term vision for Mswipe? How do you see the company evolving further in the next 5 years or so?
So next 5 years, we want to be in 8-10 countries. Like I told you, ROC, we are very much focused on ROC. We want to be at a 10-15% return on capital employed. We also want to be one of the dominant players here, right? By dominant, I don't want market share just for the heck of it. We want to ensure that as far as profitability is concerned, we are a dominant player here. So that is what we are focused on. So 1.5 million happy merchants, 8 countries where we are present in is good enough for us.
Fantastic. Well, it was lovely chatting with you, Ketan. Thank you so much for being on Leaders of Tomorrow.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
With that, it's a wrap on this edition of IDFC First Bank Presents Leaders of Tomorrow Season 12. We hope you enjoyed the conversations. Thank you for watching. Goodbye.